Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
So Hamilton blows out those coordinators. Edmonton fires a coach just to get back on point here. And you look at all the changes teams have made. Montreal, I don't get why nobody's talking about Montreal. Are they not 10-11? Or sorry, 10-1 out of 11 games. They got a chance to do what Toronto did last year. Did Toronto not clinch first by mid-September? You know, they had a half a season that didn't mean anything. So now we're down to the final third for the Montreal Alouettes. Is there a danger, do you think, for them of clinching too soon?
There is. There's always a danger of complacency, especially, what's going to change this year is you've got Toronto, probably Ottawa and Hamilton all in really a dogfight playing playoff football now the rest of the way. They really are. They're playing playoff football the rest of the way. There's going to be multiple head-to-heads between them, and Montreal's in the driver's seat. So unless they, something happens and they drop a couple of games here and things get interesting, there is a concern of complacency, especially when they've been so good for so long. You go back to last season and the run they went on, and then through the Grey Cup, and then this season, and none of this has been without adversity. They've had to come back in games. I get that multiple times. But what's going to happen if they lose one or two in a row here? Can they recover? That's when you'll see some pressure on Jason Moss and Cody Fajardo.
It's interesting because the Argos last year didn't do anything wrong, Toronto. They just clinched in mid-September, the earliest ever, I think at 12-1. That's what you want to do. Win every game if you can. And then they didn't handle it well, hosting in the Eastern Final, how they handled their personnel, but now they have a chance to redeem themselves this year. It's a heck of a story.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
Is that your boat?
Nah, working on it. That's not mine. It's a friend's.
You have a bigger boat than that, huh? Let me come down and ride around on the boat with you. We could broadcast from the boat. You could do your show, I could do my show, and really there would be no reason for me to leave.
How about that?
Was that your boat in the clip? Are you doing your show from that?
You're the second guy to ask that today. I think that's not, but we're working on it.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. Hey, what do you say? Welcome to Canada's daytime sports talk show, coming at you live from Johnny O's Gymnasium here on Game Plus Television and WQEE Radio. It's game day. The NFL kickoff game is tonight. It's a lot of football today. As I look at our topics, that's just about all of them here in the Quick Six. Can we bring in Darren Moose DuPont? He has returned to the NHL's Bermuda Triangle. He is in the football capital of Canada, and we'll get to that in a second. Coming up on the program today, ESPN Cincinnati's Mo Egger. He's in hour one, and Taylor Shire is in hour two. I just want to say good morning to you, Muse. You've traveled safely from the east to the west. You got anything to say to the folks before we get down to business?
No, and it feels like the West. I was telling you this morning. Cool, crisp morning. Going to be a hot afternoon. Good to be home and good to be on with you today.
Good to be anywhere in this business. Yeah. Can you hit the Quick Six show horn, please? Because I know you're just sitting there waiting. Boom. And by the way, coming up in our Quick Six, just so everybody knows, we got the NFL kickoff tonight. We've got the vigils held in Columbus and Calgary last night for Johnny Gaudreau. We also have, I had the great honor of spending last night with the Stanley Cup and the keeper of the cup, Phil Pritchard. It literally went probably better than planned, to be honest. So that's coming up. The Blue Jays, CFL Week 14. Listen, folks, yesterday the Banjo Bowl won the poll in terms of what's going to be the game of the week, or like what's the biggest game of the week. But I want to say, Darren, a little later on here in hour one with you, what's going to be the best game? Because I don't think it's going to be Winnipeg Sask. I think it's going to be one of the other games. I get what's the biggest game. I get it. But what's going to be the best game? So hang on. NFL Deal or No Deal returns.
How about that?
We'll explain it later if you don't know what that is. And then the ever-popular randoms. But I want to get into this, Darren. In point one, the 2004 National Football League season is here. And yes, everybody here was noticing that I'm wearing Kansas City Chiefs colors today from our good friends Whole Life, the Florida clothing brand that's done me a line of shirts and NFL team colors. It also works for the Calgary Flames, too. The Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs host the Baltimore Ravens tonight at Arrowhead Stadium to kick off the campaign. The game is a rematch, of course, of the AFC Championship where Kansas City beat Baltimore 17-10 before a Super Bowl victory against the San Francisco 49ers. Chiefs beginning their hunt for a third straight title. So let's just talk about this game for a second. I understand that every channel's talking about it, and they should. It's the NFL kickoff. So here's our spin on it, Darren. They're gonna raise a banner tonight. Can you imagine being the Ravens sitting there, probably in their locker room, knowing that they lost in the AFC title game to the Chiefs, right? What kind of a spectacle do you think it'll be tonight, and what'll it do to the Ravens? Tick them off? And will it be enough? What do you think is going to go on tonight?
It's going to be a lot of fireworks, man. Like, this is a heavyweight tilt right out of the gate. You're right. You're going to hang a banner. You got two, what I would consider these to be two really legitimate Super Bowl contenders this season going head to head. It's a chance to make an early statement. You got two of the best coaches. You got two of the best quarterbacks. Man, this is going to be a really, really fun game tonight.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, guys, can you remind me about John Burns' comment? He has paid $2 to get his comment read. Let's be honest, we're the only fans of the sports talk world. You pay us, and we will read your comment, but just not here. If you can just hang on until we get to the CFL portion, John Burns in Calgary, that would be fantastic. Let me ask you this, because we got our Deal or No Deal segment coming up. Where what it is, folks, it's not just straight-up picks. I'll give you the betting lines from our betting partners, and I asked Darren if he takes the bet or not. Like, for instance, the Chiefs are favored by 3. And I just want to know, because I don't really get into gambling, not necessarily because I don't like it or what. I'm too cheap. I don't like blowing money. From the age of 12, my dad made me work on the farm at the age of 12. You know, I'm cheap. You know that I'm cheap. I don't like blowing money. And then being involved in the sports world, it's not overly encouraged. But let me just ask you this. What factors will you use if you're making a bet on tonight's game? Because Lamar Jackson's 1-4 all time against the Chiefs. Would that factor into your thinking in terms of putting money down on this game tonight or not?
Yeah, it would for sure. And I'm not, again, I'm cheap like you too. I do like to put a couple of bucks down, but that's like what I bet. I bet just for fun. $5 a whole weekend and I make a big ticket. But, they have the sharps and the squares, right? The pro bettors are the sharps. You and I are probably the squares. I'm trying to get better. So things like that I would look at. The games in Kansas City, I'd look at that, right? Travis Kelce's health. Apparently, it sounds like he's 100% and ready to go. That's something I would look at. There's a lot of factors. Derrick Henry coming back and how they handle a two-headed rushing attack now with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. There's a lot of factors that go into picking these games.
Well, and by the way, was it last year or the year before that defensive tackle Chris Jones held out and the Chiefs lost their first game and Chris Jones was signed the next day? So my point is maybe the Chiefs aren't totally ready physically or mentally. I don't know. Like this is not a slam dunk tonight. And let's all go back to last year and remember all the Taylor Swift drama, the Kadarius Toney infamous offside penalty that cost them a game. Like they're not going to go 17-0, right? So do they win tonight? Just because it's the Chiefs doesn't mean they'll automatically win. And I think all of that is, as you pointed out yesterday, is a hell of a lot of fun to talk about. I try so hard to block out the noise really hard, especially in America where it's up in your face all day, every day. But that's our breakdown of the off tonight. I'm looking forward to NBC. Moving on to point 2, because we are Canada's daytime sports talk show. And here's the thing. There's a coach here, Darren, by the name of Jeremy. He's a personal coach here, and I love him. He's super cool. He's one of those guys that I just got along with right away when I first started coming to Johnny O's. And he's like, hey, what's your deal? Just this morning, I said, well, I'm from Canada. I host a show on Canadian television. And people down here would like me to not talk about Canadian things on this show. And he's like, no. He goes, hey, I was born in Montreal. My dad's from Montreal. I get it. There's a place for Canadian television. He goes, I watch a lot of it, so you do you. So here's us doing us and talking about the National Hockey League. The cities of Calgary and Columbus held emotional candlelight vigils for NHL star Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew on Wednesday night. The Gaudreau brothers died a week ago today when they were struck by a suspected drunken driver while riding bicycles in their home state of New Jersey. Johnny Hockey played 8 full seasons with the Flames from 2014 to 2022 before joining the Columbus Blue Jackets for 2 seasons. I think we saw it all, thousands showing up at the Saddle Dome last night. I didn't see any photos or images from Columbus, but I'm sure it was just as emotional. If you read or listened to my commentary, you can always read it at rodpeterson.com. I talked about being struck last night, Darren, by the contrast of the night. Here we are at a Stanley Cup party with Phil Pritchard, the keeper of the cup. Aaron Ekblad's there, Panthers staffers. It's all big fun, man. It was actually a stampede. And because I think our longtime viewers know, Phil Pritchard's a longtime friend of mine. So it was a private party for that Panthers group. And then I went along with the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs staff, football team staff, and their families. It was great. I stuck my head in that private room and I said, hey, Phil, when you get a minute, can you come out and say hey to my friends from Fort Lauderdale? He's like, yeah, I'd love to. He comes out and tells all these stories, and I'm like, what a revelry, what a great time. And literally while all this is going on, they're having these vigils in Columbus and Calgary. Like, just a contrast. Polar opposite emotions, the worst of the worst in those cities. And to be honest, it doesn't get much better with what happened last night here in South Florida. But you met Phil Pritchard at the Stanley Cup party for the Lightning 3 years ago. If you had one question for Phil Pritchard, the keeper of the cup, what would you ask him?
One question.
How about that?
He's so good with his time and answering questions, but I would ask him,
Yep. Oh, yeah.
What's one thing that nobody knows about the Stanley Cup? It's a story that nobody's ever heard.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to put it in my column next week for the South Florida Tribune, so I don't want to scoop myself, but he's been to 31 countries with a cup, but he couldn't go to Russia this summer for obvious reasons. I'm sure that Sergei Bobrovsky and Vladimir Tarasenko celebrated down here. They got homes down here. Bob lives here. They didn't need to go to Russia with it. But the wildest story, of course, is what I've asked Phil. And the guys at my table did, and he said it was with Philipp Grubauer in Germany, the Bavarian mountains. They were having the party, and a cow who was not invited to the party wandered down out of the Bavarian mountains and stuck his face in the bowl and started drinking alcohol out of the cup. Oh, here's another one. The bowl is cleaned and sanitized every single morning. Just so you know. I felt like asking Phil, and I might see him again. He's here for a month until the home opener against Boston. But how many times would you say you polished that sucker, Phil? And the guys asked him, this is why it's so cool. Matt Dubuck, who's been on the show many times, the coach of the Cardinal Gibbons Chiefs, was like, hey, do you have your white gloves on you? He's like, got them right here. Pulled them out of his pocket. Phil's famous for that. And Matt's brother-in-law goes, hey, you're the guy, you were on ESPN. Before the Stanley Cup final, they did a feature on Phil. So he's literally very famous. And, of course, you know what he says? You guys watch too much TV. That's a direct quote from Phil. Hey, the RP Show warm-up is brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concert. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. We've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off. Now check us out at seatgiant.ca. Point 3, the Toronto Blue Jays are off today after losing 2 straight to the Philadelphia Phillies. Cody Clemens hit a 2-run homer to lift the Phillies to a 4-2 win over the Blue Jays on Wednesday. Toronto last in the American League East with 67 wins. They got the Braves in a weekend series beginning Friday. Moving along. Point 4. Canadian Football League. Week 14. I guess it's not summer anymore. Officially, fall starts September 22nd. But as far as I'm concerned, and I think you would agree, summer's over, right? Fall's for football, and that's where we are at. So yesterday's question, what is Canada's game of the week in the Canadian Football League? The Banjo Bowl won by a landslide, and I get that. Here are your point spreads for this week. BC at Montreal Friday night. The Alouettes are favored by 2.5. They got to win 2 more games just to match the best start in franchise history. It goes back to 2004. I just want to say that. The Alouettes favored by 2.5 at home Friday against BC. And then a triple header on Saturday. Toronto and Ottawa. Red Blacks favored by 1.5. Sask at Winnipeg in the Banjo Bowl. Bombers favored by 2. And Calgary at Edmonton. The Oaks, the Okamos, favored by 1.5. While I get the Banjo Bowl's the biggest game, show. I think the BC Montreal game will be the best game of the week. What do you think will be the best game of the week?
Yes, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
I was going to say this yesterday. We never got around to it. I get it. The Banjo Bowl is probably the game of the week, intrigue. You know, the way that game ended, the Labor Day Classic in Regina, was just unbelievable. You know, the Riders were covering an onside kick after missing the 2-point convert, but they scored the touchdown. Like, so many ups and downs and storylines. But I'm with you, because what we saw from Nathan Rourke, especially in the first half of Touchdown Pacific, but throughout that whole game, it was almost like a Nathan's back kind of game, right? And he's got to put a few of those together to really be back. But now, you know, BC's rolling and Matthew Betts is there, and they kind of feel like they've turned a corner and kind of got back to their old selves. And you got Montreal coming in, who just hasn't skipped a beat. This is a real litmus test for both Montreal and BC.
902-518-3033, the number to text us here in the studio at Johnny O's Gymnasium. 902-518-3033, wherever you're watching across the U.S. and Canada. Those are the point spreads. We'll be talking a lot more about them, but doing our actual picks tomorrow, just so you know. The NFL picks are coming up, maybe even in the next segment. We'll see. Mo Egger from ESPN Cincinnati coming up, and Taylor Shire from the Regina Leader Post in hour 2 to preview the Banjo Bowl and talk about whatever else he wants. I just got to say this. John in Calgary has paid us $2. And he says the Stampeders wanted to wear black on Monday and plus 32 degrees Celsius. I don't know, John. What do you want us to talk about? Well, I didn't know about that. I'll be honest, I don't care about that. But I also understand that people get really excited when it comes to the talk of jerseys. For instance, the Cincinnati Bengals, I guess, are going to wear all orange for the first time ever on Sunday. They've got New England in there, the Patriots. And I guess Mo Egger can talk about that. But did you hear anything about this, about the Stamps wearing all black? Which they didn't, right? They didn't, I don't think. I watched the game. I can't remember. Because I don't care. How about you?
I didn't hear any talk of that. That's the first time hearing about that being an issue. I get it. You know, the home team gets the choice of what they wear. And I've been hearing more and more uniform talk. Like the Titans are going to roll out. I can't remember exactly what set they're going to roll out on Sunday against Chicago. But it was asked about who picks the uniform. And in Tennessee, it's controlling owner Amy Adams Strunk that chooses the uniform each week. I thought that was interesting. And every team, I'm sure, has somebody different that gets to choose what the teams wear each week. I'd be curious who chose the all orange in Cincy, but I'm looking forward to it.
Those are the really cool things about sports. For instance, at Skydome for years and years and years, who decided whether the roof was open or not in Toronto? For years, the answer was the coach of the Argos or the coach of the Blue Jays or whoever was the home team playing there. Nobody else, not the mayor, not the city manager, not the building manager, the coach of the home team. Okay, we'll be right back. We are live from Johnny O's Gymnasium with episode number 1330 of Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show. We're live on the Game Plus TV network, WQEE Radio, of course, streaming on YouTube as always, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Broadcasting live from beautiful South Florida. Big football weekend. Miami Hurricanes home Saturday night to the Florida A&M Rattlers. I'll be there with my buddy Chris from the Bronx. FAU Owls. Chris Carter's their director of player engagement. They have their home opener Saturday against Army. Sunday it's the Dolphins and the Jaguars. So you want football? We got it all. The poll question I'll get to in a second, but we should mention that, Moose, you are in the 306. You were there to broadcast football this weekend, Canada West variety. That's why we're not talking a lot of hockey here today. If we can bring the Moose in, we have him right. We got the Moose.
Oh,
there
yeah.
He is.
I'm here.
Tell the folks what's your football weekend, if you don't mind.
Yeah, tomorrow night, Friday night, it's they call it the U Prairie Challenge because of the rivalry in the province. I've got the Regina Rams home to the Saskatchewan Huskies. The Huskies lost their opener on the road in Manitoba, but the Rams won in Calgary last weekend, so it should be a fun game. The Huskies typically have had a little more success recently with the Hardy Cups and the playoffs. The Rams, though, look like they might have an opportunity here tomorrow.
All right, so Moose will be there, and you can watch it on Canada West TV and also on Telus Optic Cable, SaskTel Max, a lot of these same channels.
You bet.
That you are watching this program on today. Buffalo Bill writes in. He says, greetings and hallucinations from sunny North Dakota. Football. Some. I will tell you, 3 years ago when I first started coming down here, I felt like I had to be everywhere. I've realized I don't need to be everywhere. I'll go to where I want to go, not where I feel like I should go. Well, I'm going to watch Henry Burris Saturday night with the Florida A&M Rattlers. But that's the one thing. We can sit here and talk about football at all levels. I'd like to think intelligently. I'm not done yet with Oiler fans, which I will get to in a second. But the poll question today is this. Producer Clark came up with it. Who is the best receiver in the National Football League as we kick off a new season tonight? Who's the best receiver in the National Football League? Your options are Justin Jefferson of the Vikings, Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals, CeeDee Lamb of my Dallas Cowboys, or other. I'm going to vote with CeeDee Lamb because he plays for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm biased. We all have an agenda, I'm told. So am I doing it right? Just vote for your own guy, not who you actually think might be the best. Who are you voting for, Moose?
Yeah, I'm going to vote other in the poll, and the reason why is I'm going to say Tyreek Hill is still the best receiver in the National Football League. Look, there's a great case to be made for all these guys, and they're really 1, A, B, C, and D. Devontae Adams probably wants to be in that conversation, although he's starting to get towards the end of his career. But Tyreek Hill can stretch the field deep. He can catch the ball over the middle. He can run the ball out of the backfield on jet sweeps. I just think he's so versatile and dangerous that you have to game plan against him.
David in Winnipeg writes in, and David, number one, he says, must be desperate times in Ryderville. They're hosting a tryout in Atlanta in the next few weeks. Speaking of Atlanta, from WQEE, our radio partner, Ryan O'Radio writes that he says, Atlanta's real talk radio show, the RP show. Ours and yours, Ryan O'Radio. He hosts the Radio Penitentiary daily, 6 a.m. to 10. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says that I did read it. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes that he says, Stamps wear all black every Labor Day for decades. Where have you all been? That's what I don't care about the jersey color. I just don't. Now, there's very few jerseys that do get me excited. One of those is the baby blue Florida Panthers jersey, and I bought it last year. So they told me that it was a cheap knockoff from China. Paid $200 for, it was worth $20, and I'm like, I don't care. It's about perceived value, market value. Really want those things. I'm all over for one chance to buy it, and I jumped all over. I don't care if it's a non-rate. Utah Darren writes in. He says the Chiefs take the game. They just seem to have the Ravens number. Well, there you go, 4-1 against Lamar Jackson. I'm with you on that. BW in Edmonton writes in. He says the only uniform controversy I hear about is the NFL teams in Brazil wearing green where they've been told not to wear green. Eagles versus Panthers. Randy from Winnipeg writes in. He says Josh Palmer, best Canadian wide receiver. He might have a breakout year. Says the Chargers fan, but I feel like now might be the best time to get in a deal or no deal, if you don't mind, Darren. And in hour two, we'll do the Canadian Football League point spreads. Not our picks, but point spread. So tonight, Baltimore at Kansas City. The Chiefs favored by 3. Are you taking that bet or not? Deal or no deal?
Yeah, you got a deal from me on that. In my head, if it was stretched to 4, I'd probably take Baltimore. But at 3, I'll take Kansas City.
It's a deal for me, too. Green Bay versus Philadelphia in Brazil. No home field advantage there. The Eagles favored by 2.5. Deal or no deal?
No deal. I like what Green Bay is doing, and I'll go with Green Bay.
I'm taking the deal, y'all. Okay, this to me is the game of the week. The Pittsburgh Steelers at the Atlanta Falcons. Russell Wilson versus Kirk Cousins. That's a toughie. The Falcons are favored by 3.5 at Mercedes Stadium. Deal or no deal?
Yeah, you got a deal for me. I'm putting chips in on Atlanta and Kirk Cousins this year.
Bingo! Bingo!
Sorry,
Yes.
I'm taking the Steelers. I'm taking the Steelers to not only beat the spread, but win the game outright. Skol! The Minnesota Vikings at the New York Football Giants. The Vikings favored by 1.5 on the road. Deal or no deal?
No deal. You can give me they call it a home dog, underdog. I'll take the Giants.
Okay, I'm taking Minnesota. Brian Dable assuming play calling duties just this week on Tuesday. He wouldn't say why. It seems to be a grease fire already. As my friend Chris from the Bronx says, it's going to be a long year. Jacksonville at Miami. Dolphins favored by 3.5 here at Hard Rock Stadium on Sunday. Deal or no deal?
You got a deal for me there, too. I think Tua has a lot to prove, and is going to be hungry.
Biggest point spread of the week. Cincinnati. Home to New England Sunday. The Bengals favored by 8.5. Deal or no deal?
Big spread. I usually stay away from it, but I'm going to take the deal. I'm going to take the deal.
No deal here. They're really going to want to win this one. Doing my John Frenzy impression. Both teams want to win, John. I know, but they really want to win. For Gerard Mayo, the new head coach of the Patriots. So I'm not saying they'll win. I'm saying they'll cover the spread. The visitor. Arizona at Buffalo, the Cardinals 6.5-point underdog. Deal or no deal?
No deal. I like the Cards to cover that spread. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray, I think, will be a really dynamic duo.
If you haven't heard, it's the Bills. Josh Allen, voted the most underrated quarterback in the National Football League, also voted the most overrated quarterback in the National Football League. What that tells you is everybody has an opinion on him. And I'll take the Bills to cover the 6.5-point spread in Buffalo. The Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts, a battle of the AFC South. Texans favored by 3. Deal or no deal?
You got a deal for me at 3 points. Pretty small. I like that for Houston. They're a contender for the Super Bowl.
To go in on the road. Okay. Or was it a fluke? Just putting that out there.
We'll find out.
What they did last year. Right? But I'm with you. I'll take this one. The Tennessee Titans at Chicago. I love this. They're like, Caleb Williams has brought back exciting football to the Bears. They haven't played a game. The Bears are favored by 3.5 at Soldier Field against your Titans. Deal or no deal?
I'm really intrigued by the Titans. I think they're going to surprise some people, but not in week 1. I'll take the Bears, and you got a deal for me.
Okay. Me too. Shockingly. John Ohm writes in and says, love those frenzy quotes. So do I. Think about them every day. They really want to win this one. Every team does, John. I know, but they really want to win. Carolina at New Orleans. Toilet Bowl. Saints favored by 4. Deal or no deal?
Oh, it's a tough one. People are sleeping on Alvin Kamara. They think he's done, but I think he's going to have a great year. Give me the deal on this one. I don't know what to do with it. I'll take the deal.
I'm taking it too. I'm excited for this one. Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers in the Jim Harbaugh debut. Chargers favored by 3. Deal or no deal?
I'm riding with Jim Harbaugh. Absolutely.
You love you some Jim Harbaugh. The Denver Broncos at the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith versus Bo Nix. Seahawks favored by 6. Deal or no deal?
No deal. I think the Seahawks will win. I think Geno Smith's a better quarterback today than Bo Nix is, but I think Denver's going to get better. They're going to cover.
I'm taking a deal. Washington at Tampa Bay. My guy, Baker Mayfield, and the Buccaneers favored by 3.5 Sunday night. I'll go first. I'm taking the deal. Against Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, his first pro start. Deal or no deal? It's favored 1.5.
It's a deal for me too, but I'm really intrigued by Jaden Daniels in Washington, but I'll take the deal in week 1.
America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. At the Cleveland Browns. We're going to have our way with them. For some reason, Cleveland's favored by 2.5, so no deal from me. How about you?
Yeah, me either. No deal. I think Dallas has a lot to prove. People are writing them off like they're not going to make the playoffs this year. I think they'll be fine.
Some feel an NFC Conference Championship preview. Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit Lions. The Lions favored by 3.5 at Ford Field. Deal or no deal?
Oh, that's a deal for me. Two teams I really like a lot, but I like the Lions more.
Me too. And Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. New York Jets at the San Francisco 49ers. Niners favored by 4.5. Deal or no deal?
Give me no deal on this one. I think the Jets are going to finally do what we thought they were, hoped they would do last year.
Okay, well, I'm taking the deal. Aaron Rodgers or otherwise, because it's the 49ers. And they'll be raising a banner as well as the NFC champions from last year. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes, and he says, I really miss John Frenzy. We all do. And I think about what he might say about the plight of the Saskatchewan Roughriders right now. We'll get into all of that in hour 2. John Ohm says Tom Brady's making his broadcasting debut. That's exciting, too. Moose, I'll see you in hour 2.
See you then.
We're going to Cincinnati next. If you have any questions for our good friend Mo Egger, fire them our way. From ESPN Radio Cincinnati, we're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio down there in Atlanta, the Peach City. Streaming on YouTube as always, and of course Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch.
Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me.
With Shenandoah.
You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I'll take the dirt road.
Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
6 days on the road and I'm
Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Who doesn't think about hockey when you look at that? Hockey players, are you looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot? Look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. With state-of-the-art shooting lanes and top-notch equipment, it's the ultimate training destination for players of all ages and skill levels. Overtime Hockey Lanes, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Talking about the NFL kickoff and deal or no deal, the pick'em. Darcy in Grand Prairie, Alberta writes in. He says, my plan this year is to bet on whoever the Patriots are playing. Betting against the Pats. Let's bring in Mo Egger from ESPN Cincinnati. And Mo, our poll question is, who is the best receiver in the NFL right now? Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, or other? You got some thoughts on that, my dog?
Well, I do, but first, can I ask some questions? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you 3 questions? Okay, number 1, was that your boat?
How about that?
You've asked that before. No.
Okay, I don't know. Secondly, are you broadcasting from like where you do your morning workout?
As a matter of fact, yes. Johnny O's Gymnasium. I worked out, went home, had a shower, came back. That's 2.
And then what is with that shirt? There's a lot going on with that shirt. Kansas City Chiefs colors, I would suppose. I don't know. That looks like I watched a lot of bad music videos in the 90s. I think you stole that from one of the sets. The answer is Justin Jefferson. I'm willing to say that Jamar Chase is in the conversation. But I think Justin Jefferson has often operated in an offense that's just, it's asking him to do more in relation to the talent around him, asking him to do more in relation to the quarterbacks. Nothing against, the Kirk Cousins or whoever they've had in Minnesota. But I think Justin Jefferson owns that title. But it's a fun conversation to have. And it's a fun conversation to have about where the wide receiver market is going next. And that's obviously something we have been focused on a lot here in Cincinnati. I'm sorry if you love that shirt. I apologize, but there's a lot that hits you right in the eyes when you first look at it.
It's television, Mo. It's television. So that's the one thing. Number 2, it's from a clothing brand in Florida called Whole Life, and they did me up a series of shirts in NFL team colors. I didn't ask for it. They just did it. And since we're bullying each other, do you remember when Jamar Chase went in the first round to the Bengals and you were mad? You wanted an O-lineman?
No, that wasn't me. No, I was Team Chase. I was Team Chase all along. But look, Penei Sewell's a heck of a player. And Penei Sewell has his second contract with the Lions. Jamar Chase doesn't have his yet. Look, the Bengals drafted at the time for what they felt like they needed, which was explosiveness. We think, and look, the league is operating this way, right? It's a passing league. Wide receivers matter more than ever. They're getting paid more than ever. If we have an element of explosiveness, we can fix the other stuff. We can be okay on the offensive line. And from a Cincinnati perspective, I guess you could look at the offensive line play one of 2 ways. Number 1, they've addressed it since that draft. They also, with a bad offensive line, made the Super Bowl, in large part because they had Jamar Chase. At the same time, Joe Burrow's health is always a question, and he is going to be playing, I think, behind the best offensive line he's ever played behind, but still probably at best a league average offensive line. It's a fun game of what if, right? What if the Bengals give Joe Burrow a franchise tackle in Penei Sewell? What's the butterfly effect from that? Well, maybe they're as good, maybe they're better, maybe they're worse, but chances are T. Higgins right now has a long-term contract with the Cincinnati Bengals instead of playing this year on a franchise tag.
It's interesting. I don't know. Tell me if you find this as fascinating as I do, and I think personnel people do. these receivers we're talking about on their rookie contracts, which are, 4 years plus one, they're all getting the bag early. And we got 3 rookie quarterbacks starting this year. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, obviously, Bo Nix. That's tied for the most ever. These kids are coming in, Mo, more ready than ever to start. And star. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's a few reasons. First of all, it's how the league works, right? I mean, to a large degree, at a lot of positions, the middle-class player has been squeezed out, where the elite guys are always going to get paid. But now there's such a premium on, young talent making an impact right away, because certainly first-round draft choices can't sign contracts that put them in the league for 7 or 8 years. No longer can you take someone early and go, well, he's going to sit for a year or two, and then by year 3 or 4, he'll get his feet wet, and then year 5. No. Like, we need you good now. That's how the league works. Also, I just feel like college football is doing a better job of getting guys ready for the NFL. We have more pro-style offenses. We have more, I think, just the professionalization of college football means, in many respects, these guys are pros and being treated as pros, and getting training like pros and behaving like pros before they end the, quote, professional ranks. But yeah, you're right. I mean, now, I'll give you an example here. Dax Hill was drafted by the Bengals in the first round in 2022. Barely played his first season, played last year, didn't play well. So he goes into year 3, and it's like, dude, put up or shut up. Now, the good news for him is not only has he made the team, he is going to be a starting corner. He changed positions. But we don't wait around for you to contribute anymore. Teams have to make decisions. Players have to make decisions. Players have to make an impact early. And so the league right now is really all about getting a lot out of cheap talent and then paying the guys who are the absolute upper crust dudes. And then we'll just sort through the middle class guys, both on individual teams and in the league as a whole.
You make a good point. For just as many that are starring early, there's just as many that are fizzling out. But I'll do you one more. And says college. I got a buddy here in Wellington, Florida. His kid's 7 years old and participated in a combine for his flag football team at the age of 7. And initially I thought that was crazy. And then I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe it's not. I don't know. That's where it's going. And that's why I think these players are so much more prepared. Yeah? You're going to say something? I can tell.
No, there's certainly something to that. I hope the kid's having fun with it. Right. I have a 7-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
My 7-year-old is not going to be a high-end athlete. I can tell you that. But when it comes to youth sports, as long as the kids are enjoying what they're doing, and if that means individual training or extensive training that kind of goes beyond the typical traditional youth coaching, then that's fine. I worry about, though, when I hear about things like that, I worry about burnout. And I also I know dads, I know parents they're so hyper-focused on their kids' individual progress that they kind of lose sight of what it's like to be a teammate, what it means to be a teammate, how to be a good teammate, also how to socialize. And I know, as hokey as this sounds, I still believe that youth sports are supposed to serve that function first. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I know college coaches who have 6th and 7th graders on their radar. And that's just the world that we live in, whether we like it or not.
Hey, well, by the way, this kid loves it, but I also go to most of their games, and they were just strolling along all year, Mo, until they came up against an inner city team.
Yeah.
They got their asses whipped. And I'm like, you just got a life lesson, boys. There's always going to be somebody meaner, somebody nastier, somebody big. There's always going to be. So you might as well learn it now. So anyways, as usual, I could go
Did you wear that shirt to one of those games?
But I don't want to be fighting in the stands. No. Maybe if the Chiefs are in town. Hey, thank you, Mo. Thanks for picking on me and keeping me humble. I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the ball this weekend.
You look like you worked at Burger King in 1986 wearing that thing.
At least I had a job in 1986. I was
9 years old in 1986.
I was working at the age of 12. Thanks, Mo.
See you, man. Good to see you as always.
Bye.
How about that?
The great Mo Egger from ESPN Cincinnati. We'll be right back. Next time we'll ask Mo why he's not allowed to cover the Bengals anymore. I'm joking. It was a Les Nessman reference, WKR. he can cover the Bengals as much as he wants. We'll be right back with a sports update and audience takeover. 902-518-3033, the number to text us here at Johnny O's. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, of course, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Daytime Sports Talk live from Johnny O's Gymnasium in Boca Raton, Florida. Sports update coming up, as I mentioned, viewer takeovers. Well, Dirty 30, Jim Young writing in, the Hall of Fame BC Lions receiver and Minnesota Vikings alum too. He's responding to our poll question, who's the best receiver in the NFL? I said, I'm biased. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb as CeeDee Lamb as a not Katie Lang, CeeDee Lamb. As my choice. Jim says, morning, Rod, like you, I'm biased. Vikings, Justin Jefferson. Second pick, CeeDee Lamb. regarding the jerseys, the gentleman wrote in earlier, Mr. Burns, asking about the Calgary Stampeders wearing black on Labor Day. Why would they do that? I don't get into the jersey thing. Not anymore. I used to. But Kirk in Toronto is watching on Game Plus. And he says, "Hi, Rod. Kirk from Toronto here. Speaking of jerseys, the Argonauts wore their home uniforms in Hamilton on Labor Day. Don't think I ever saw two teams wearing their home uniforms in the same game. How about that?" Honestly, it happens, but not a lot. You're right. I did watch that game because I'm sitting there posting articles to rodpeterson.com looking for photos, and I'm like, so the Ticats wore black that day, and the Argos wore what they call Cambridge blue, and it did not look like vomit on the TV screen. Wild. But listen, those Argos can wear those baby blues every game as far as I'm concerned. I feel like it needs to get, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, when we debuted those black jerseys, whatever year it was, I want to say 04, 05, right around there. I got excited about that. There's not a lot of jerseys I get excited for. I could count them on one hand. Like the Blasty jersey in Calgary that they get so excited about with the horse's head snorting flames. I don't get that excited about that jersey, but I know they do in Calgary very much. Sports update, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs begin their Super Bowl defense tonight as they host the Baltimore Ravens in the NFL season opener at Arrowhead Stadium. The game is a rematch of last season's AFC Championship, won by Kansas City 17-10. Chiefs looking to become the first team to win 3 straight Super Bowl championships. They'll be raising a banner tonight. I'm wearing this jersey for a couple of reasons. The Chiefs are playing. Despite Mo Egger bullying me, which, by the way, we air on Buckeye Cable down there, all across Ohio. Whatever channel it is, I'm not sure, but they got Game Plus there all across Ohio. I like these shirts that Whole Life made for me. I like the cut. I like the material. I like everything about them. And that's that whole you do you. Back to the topics of this program. For the last, this is almost 3 years I've been coming here. I don't know why I listened to people that said, you need to be doing this, talking about this, you need to be talking about that. No, we're going to keep talking about what made this show as popular as it was. So this young guy, Jeremy, today, he's a coach. What do you talk about on that show? I said, Canadian sports topic, NHL, CFL, NFL. He goes, I'm from Canada, Montreal. Canada's awesome. I'm like, I agree. We both live here, but we can still talk about the Canadian things. That's what we're going to do. Why did I let anybody get inside my head? I don't know. The funeral for Columbus Blue Jackets star Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew will be held Monday in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. According to multiple reports, the two brothers died a week ago today when they were struck by a suspected impaired driver while riding their bikes in their home state of New Jersey. Sports Update is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas in theaters now. Blink Twice, starring Channing Tatum. I'm saying it's a takeoff of the Jeffrey Epstein Fantasy Island story. Go to it, but go with an open mind. And if that's not your thing, check out landmarkcinemas.com for showtimes and theaters near you. Hour 2 coming up with a Moose right after this brief pause on Game Plus and Q Radio.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Is that your boat?
Nah, working on it. That's not mine. It's a friend's.
You have a bigger boat than that, huh? Let me come down and ride around on the boat with you. We could broadcast from the boat. You could do your show, I could do my show, and really there would be no reason for me to leave.
How about that? Was that your boat in the clip? Are you doing your show from that?
You're the second guy to ask that today. I think that's not, but we're working on it.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
That second voice there, Sean Simpson. And producer Clark, we got to get Simmer on the air soon. Looks like he's started another new venture in Ottawa. I'm excited to see how it goes, Sean Simpson. It's hour 2, and I'm going to tell you, as we bring in the Moose here, I'm at Johnny O's Gymnasium for this week, and who knows for how much longer. Moose is in the 306, the Rectangle, Canada's football capital, as he gets ready to broadcast Canada West football on Friday night. It was a very tidy first hour, Darren. We did all our business. Yes. We did our NFL deal or no deal, got through all of the NFL games for week 1 and our picks. We talked about tonight's NFL kickoff game, the Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, and we both got the Chiefs to win tonight. There's going to be a lot of CFL talk here in hour 2. And I also want to mention, as I said to you earlier, well, basically, since we got all our business taken care of, even mentioned the Blue Jays losing again, a lot of viewer takeover here in hour 2. We got viewers all across North America, Canada, and the USA on Game Plus Television and WQEE Radio. But yesterday, give me your take on this. As a guy who owns the majority of this show, the Oilers fans, how did you feel about the reaction yesterday? I'm sure you saw it. You had a lot of time at airport departure gates, hanging out to see the mentions at us. When I said, are the Oilers not concerned that Leon Draisaitl was goalless in the Stanley Cup final? The media got into it. A lot of their fans got into it with me. For the most part, they were good, but some turned nasty. And just so you know, I don't care about any of them. When you don't care what other people think about you, you reach a dangerously free level of life, and that's where I'm at. But how do you? I mean, you posted it. What'd you think of the reaction to my comment on Draisaitl being goalless in the Stanley Cup final last night?
Yeah, it was a mix. It wasn't, as you say, people were pretty level-headed. It wasn't just all trash. It wasn't all agreeing. And that's typically when you got a great question out there, when you get a mix of responses. I think for the most part, Oiler fans were defensive, as I would expect them to be. They talk about McDavid at the very end in Game 7. It happens. So, I think it was fine. But it's a worthwhile question to ask, because if you're going to make somebody the highest paid player in the game, you need them to show up in the biggest moments, and that's the Stanley Cup final. And I'm sure Leon will do that in the future.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point, is if you are that hurt that you are unable to contribute, then realistically, why is he playing? But that's an Edmonton question, not ours. I'm just throwing something out for the sake of discussion, what we do here, The View for sports fans. We have audience participation, as always. It came up last hour about the Calgary Stampeders wearing black on Labor Day. It was a Calgary viewer who brought that up, saying, why would they do that on such a hot day? And Jeff, the Stamps fans, they always wear black on Labor Day. I'm with you, Jeff. On this one, I am. I don't get why this is a thing. I'm sorry. Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, says color versus color matchups get jersey nerds geeked up. Oh, trust me, I know. And last year, to be honest, of all the jerseys that came in through Sunrise here, where I covered the Panthers last year for the Cats and Bolts podcast, and now the South Florida Tribune, the only jersey that really got me excited for a matchup against the Panthers was the LA Kings. Of all the jerseys that came through, the Kings, there was just something about their white, black, and silver versus the Panthers Reds that just I got excited about. So I get that it's a thing for people, but we aren't all excited about the same one. Right? Did you think it was odd that the Hamilton Tiger Cats would wear black and the Argos would wear Cambridge Blues in the same game, in the Labor Day game on Monday? I didn't think anything of it till somebody brought it up here.
Yeah, I don't usually. I do think it's cool. I think it's different. So that's why people want to talk about it, because it doesn't happen very often where you get both teams wearing their darks or whatever. I think, the thing about the black, and I can't remember, maybe John Burns can tell me, but where it came up over the last couple of weeks, but I think it was the NCAA football and potentially Colorado or one of the markets where they talked about playing in 30-degree heat or 90-degree heat, 100-degree heat, and the home team chose to wear white specifically so the opposition would have to wear dark on the road in the heat and be more uncomfortable. So now we want to talk about it in the CFL, but that's, as you pointed out, a Calgary tradition on Labor Day, and I don't think it was a factor in them losing the football game that they were too hot in black jerseys.
Yeah. Here he wasn't saying that, by the way. He's just saying, why would they? I think that's probably why the Dolphins wear white at home. It's so blinking hot here. It's unbelievable. Regarding 3 rookie quarterbacks starting in the NFL in Week 1, which has matched a league record, Bomber Boy in Calgary writes that he says, Tom Brady lamented the choices teams are making by bringing in rookie quarterbacks to start before they're ready. He felt it's necessary for them to learn from the sidelines rather than learn on the fly. Dude, I feel like, Darren, I wish you were sitting with me last night at a table for 8 at the Cafe Seville in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with a bunch of coaches and players, both pro, college, and high school levels, and talk about this, because I am a fan of just throwing somebody into the deep end and seeing how they do, which is kind of what's happening, I think, with Bo Nix and Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. It's also for the lack of anybody else, right? I don't know. I don't follow the Chicago Bears close enough to say, well, should they have kept Justin Fields? Maybe they felt he was too big of a personality to have around. I don't know. But that's the one thing, if people aren't paying attention. 2 of the Well, all these young receivers, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, in our poll for who's the best receiver, are all in their first contract. Or Justin Jefferson's redone his, but you know what I'm saying. They're young. And why is that? It's not just about a matter of being ready. They are emotionally, physically, mentally ready. Hockey is my sport, so I will use Connor Bedard. Probably ready to play in the NHL emotionally and mentally at 17. But he got in at 18 on the second worst team in the entire NHL and had almost a point a game. Why are they more ready now for the pros at all levels, Darren, than they've ever been? I don't know, but I think it's worth talking about or looking into.
It is. It's absolutely worth it. And, you know, social media, I shouldn't say social media, the internet has so much to do with it too, because we are teaching the kids the things that they need to do at a young age to be ready if you want to make the pros. Like, we all knew you got to dedicate yourself to play. You got to shoot pucks. You got to practice. You got to skate. But we didn't have all the resources available to us that the young kids do now. Like, as a hockey player, to you know, watch tutorials on camps and learn about my skating and my shooting and have drills that I can be practicing at home. I didn't have that stuff. If my coach didn't give me those things, I never got them. Now there's resources everywhere at your fingertips. So the players are like, their nutrition is dialed in, their off season, everything is much more advanced than it ever was. And the mental health game too. But the rookie quarterback is interesting. I read an article yesterday about the backup QB crisis in the NFL, lack of quality backups. And the other side is, I'm also a fan of being patient too. Like, we're so quick to figure out what we have in somebody in a quarterback so that we can move on right away and make sure that we're taking advantage of a commodity and cutting it loose if we know that it's not the right one. Sometimes players need a little bit of time to mature and develop, but if you put them in too early, you ruin it, and you don't give them a chance to mature and develop. It's a tough battle for GMs in football.
I'm really, 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 really lucky to have had the background that I've had, that my dad was a scout in junior hockey for 10 years before going to the National Hockey League for 26 years. So being able to look behind the curtain with how they think, and then having worked in pro football myself for a generation, the pressure, the fans don't understand the pressure on these guys. There is no patience. The only reason you would not start a first-round draft choice at the quarterback position is because you have somebody else, i.e. Atlanta, with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr., right? That's the only reason. Because I think you were with me at the Capitol Grill restaurant in Houston, Texas, sitting with George Cortez, who's coached literally at every level of football. And he was like, Rod, we'd like to have him for 2 years before they start. And I'm like, we don't have time, George. They don't have time. And over in Calgary, they always did it right. They always had the starter, and they were able to bring, like, think about the 90s. And that's Shivers, which Wally Buono, the all-time winningest coach in CFL history, will give Roy credit. He was the guy finding him all the players. I think, were you sitting with me that day when I interviewed Wally? And I said, Wally, what was the secret to your success? And he goes, good players. Okay. Wasn't anything he did. Yeah. He gave Shiv all the credit.
Look at Green Bay. Look at Green Bay.
111 Eastern, 1111 Mountain, where you are. I just want to stop for a second and observe that. Because, sorry, I cut you off. Look at Green Bay. Go ahead.
Well, no, they did it right. Like, from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to now Jordan Love, not a lot of quarterbacks, and always have somebody ready, you know, and fans got really upset when the Green Bay Packers drafted Jordan Love instead of giving Aaron Rodgers another weapon, because they're thinking about the future and they're planning and they're preparing and they have a game plan, which is, it's not that Jordan Love was coming in to replace Aaron Rodgers tomorrow. It's, we need somebody to come in and learn so we can hand off the baton. That's why in a 4x100 meter relay, they get a little bit of a jogging start before you hand the baton off. They don't just hand it off cold, right? And the teams that just hand it off cold, that look for a quarterback when they need one, as opposed to getting one just before you need one, that's the difference between winning organizations and some losing ones.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. Jeff, the Stamps fan, perk up. Write down the date. It's really odd that he and I are on the same page today because it very rarely happens. But it is the winning organizations versus the broken organizations. You can see the difference very clearly. And the very first team I was ever the voice of was the Regina Rams 1991 junior football team. But I think it was important to point out, Darren, I sat back and watched as the broadcaster going, we had guys going down over the course of a season, and the guy that came in to replace him was just as good. And he'd been groomed in that position for 2, 3, 4 years. The backup. And I said, at that time, I remember thinking, that's like a shark's tooth. They say when a shark's tooth, another one grows right in. And that was the Rams that won however many championships. And I suggest probably the Hilltops are doing the same similar things now, although people say they're buying it. But we won't go there. But the Calgary Stampeders were doing that for years. Why they are where they are now, and when I say where they are now, 4th in the CFL West, potentially 5th coming out of this weekend, might be because Huff's gone. Regarding the jerseys, where is it? Just regarding the colors and homes versus roads, I'm sorry. Jeff the Stamps fan has written in a lot of things here. He says, why? He goes, I don't even know why home versus roads. I can't find it, but is it even a thing anymore? And he's really right? Whites versus darks. I don't get it. It's all screwed up. And I'm too old to try and relearn everything, so I'm just going with the flow. Utah Darren writes in and he says, Aaron Rodgers and Alex Smith were in the same draft class. Smith got his butt kicked for the 3 years that Rodgers watched Favre. Alex Smith is done, and Aaron Rodgers is still playing. Sure, they're not clones, but I totally get what you're saying. And to bring it back to a CFL thing, once Darian Durant got injured in that 2014 Banjo Bowl, he was never the same again. The Rough Riders haven't been the same since. So not all players are the same. There's special players, and Darian was special. But then we went through just discarding them. You remember the names? Yeah. It was just before you and I met. Brett Smith, Tino Sudseri, Seth Daggy. Shoot, we brought back Kerry Joseph. And George Cortez was our offensive coordinator then, too. And he was trying to devise a way to win games, and we just couldn't do it. We're throwing guys, and fans were spitting them out. So, yeah, you love to be able to have the ability to groom somebody behind your starter. It doesn't always work that way. Or, by the way, with us with Darian Durant in Saskatchewan, we had a guy, you might have heard of him, Drew Willie, found by our head scout, Craig Smith. And the second Drew Willie had a chance to sign somewhere else for more money, he was gone. That's how it works, by the way. And Drew Brown. Good things in Winnipeg. Drew Willie. But Drew Brown leaving. Yes, you're right. With Ottawa. Same
thing.
Yeah, another Drew. Exactly. So that's pro sports. This is funny. Jeff the Stamps fan says, Huff isn't gone. His 67 Mustang soft top is parked in the best McMahon parking spot every day. I told you he wasn't going anywhere, Jeff. I told you that. And you all flamed me. We will be back. We're having a good one today. Taylor Shire coming up 2 segments from now from the Regina Leader Post. Football writer there. We'll be back in a moment. I'll tell a few more stories from last night's Stanley Cup party here in Fort Lauderdale. We had such a good time. Aaron Ekblad was there, Star Panther, longest-serving Panther, by the way, and a great time with Phil Pritchard. It's Sports Talk, your favorite, in the daytime, here live on the Game Plus TV network, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the City of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sasktix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
We live on a Thursday, unless it's podcast form you're listening to, and then we're not. But what I do know for sure is that it's episode number 1330 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. Let's please bring in the Moose. Where is the comment here? Jen from the Four Seasons writes in, where the heck? Good morning, y'all. It's one of the most wonderful times of the year. NFL is back. Woohoo! It is. I couldn't agree more. And by the way, just here's the topics. Loosely. Talking about the NFL kickoff tonight. Ravens and Chiefs. CFL Week 14, which I feel like we could get into a lot here in this segment if people are down. And jersey matchups, and darks versus whites versus darks versus darks. You don't ever see two white jerseys going against each other. But I think it was Wayne in BC who wrote in here, Darren, and says it was because of television back in the day that they did darks versus whites, home and road. That makes a heck of a lot of sense to me. How about you?
Yeah, makes a ton of sense, especially the early TVs and the TVs that we grew up with. Some of them didn't have the clearest picture. Some of them weren't the biggest. They were small. You needed to be able to differentiate. You couldn't read name bars. You didn't have high definition. You might not even have been able to see logos on helmets at some point. So yeah, I get it. Dark versus white makes sense.
It's probably a really big part of it, but I think we all played sports. There is a bit of something to be said about knowing who your teammate is. But if it's blue versus orange, I think that's enough of a differentiation. I don't know. I mean, back in the day, some of the old-timers watching, and let's be honest, they'll agree and understand this, because we do owns the 55-plus age demographic in Canada on television and working on America. The checkered red line, you got your blue lines on the hockey rink, but then there's the red line.
Yep.
And there was so most of them have the check. You know why that is? For black and white television back in the day. So you knew which line was what if you didn't have a color television. I believe that's a thing.
Wow.
And I should mention, did you not know that? Did you not know that?
I never thought about that, but it makes so much sense because the lines in black and white, the lines would look exactly the same. I get it.
That's why it was. And I heard this the other day. Every opinion's valued, but not everyone is considered or taken seriously. I'm like, that should be the motto of this show. Every opinion's valued, but not everyone's listened to. For instance, our Cats and Bolts podcast will drop this afternoon. Serena and mine talking Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning. We only got in 3 fights on the show, which, yeah. But somebody wrote in and said, what do you think about the Panthers center ice logo? Did you follow the story that a Florida Panthers staffer tweeted a photo of the new center ice logo and got fired because the Panthers were planning a big splashy veiling of their center ice logo, and this guy tweeted it and got fired, or gal, I don't know, and got fired. It was reported by Fox Sports 640. South Florida, Andy Slater is the talk guy down here. I was like, we don't talk about that on Cats and Bolts this afternoon when it drops. But I'm like, I don't care about center ice logos. Like, I just barely care about jerseys unless it's the teams that I like. But I'm like, Darren, come on. Would a, what should I say, a warning or a stern talking to not have been sufficient rather than firing the poor person? Like, my God, welcome to sports in 2024.
Well, I know. And every year when the ice goes in, it's such a big deal, right? For us hockey junkies. Ooh, the ice is going in. And I've seen the videos, the time lapses of ice going in, and it looks great. But this year, more than any other, I'm seeing the center ice logos. And teams are filling the center. Some teams are doing the double logo, or just the regular old school logo. And I'm seeing a lot more content about what do you like? Which center ice setup do you like the best? So I get it. The teams were all excited. Everybody's doing it. The Panthers are next. And then somebody leaks it. That's definitely worthy of being upset and saying, you ruined it. You ruined it for us. But it was one piece of content that you ruined. Like, it's not like you did some irreparable damage that's going to hurt your team from winning a Stanley Cup or take money out of your pocket. I don't think he should have been fired.
Well, if anybody wants to know why I have zero interest in getting back in the mainstream sports business like I used to, is reasons exactly like that. God, I've made thousands of mistakes in my career. I wouldn't last a day now, so I just can't. So we'll be over here doing our own thing. What?
On that, like, and it's the team's own fault. Like, nobody told this kid, I'm assuming it's a kid, nobody told this kid, hey, we're planning this, so don't tweet it. Somebody was sitting there planning it and not telling everybody. It's like when I'm sitting there making Leanne this special dinner, and she walks into the kitchen and says, hey, are you making that for dinner? You're just surprising me with that for dinner? And I'm like, well, I was trying to. It's my fault that I never said anything. It's not the kid's fault. It's not her fault.
Exactly. 902-518-3033, the number to text us here. Back on point. Chiefs, Ravens tonight, NFL kickoff. Friday, Green Bay, Philadelphia in Brazil. Eagles favored by 2.5 there, which, here's another thing. I'm learning. I think this is the most peaceful I've ever been returning to Florida because I figured everything out. Number one, I don't feel the need to be everywhere because I was everywhere. You saw on my social media, high school football games, college hockey games, NFL games, NBA games. I don't need to be everywhere. The other thing is just what to listen to and what not to listen to. Because as you said, it's fun to listen to. Everybody wants the juice. But do you believe the narrative that Nick Sirianni, the Eagles coach, and the starting quarterback Jalen Hurts don't get along? Because the Eagles are favored by 2.5 over Green Bay in Brazil Friday night, NFL's first ever Friday game. And how serious, if they don't get along, how serious do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that, how much weight there, how much, there is to that, how much credibility there is to that, if they're actually, at odds. But last year did not go as planned for Philadelphia. And there was a lot of tension around that organization. And we think that there was some tension inside the building and maybe amongst personnel, but we don't really know. This is a big year for Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts specifically. He's a quarterback who, could be an MVP of the league. And for Nick Sirianni, if he doesn't win, he's going to be on the hot seat because they've got a talented group. And now they got Saquon Barkley in there too, a really talented roster. Their Super Bowl window is open. So it's up to Nick Sirianni to get him across the line. And if he doesn't do it, they're going to be looking for somebody else.
That's just what I wondered. You never know what to believe or what not to believe. So I largely don't believe anything. However, I'm going to get to a comment here from our guy, Nelson, our VP of Sim Events. It all ties in here. So stick with me. Regarding jersey colors, helmet colors, he goes, when Edmonton, that's the Eskimos, had green helmet, Darian Durant requested the Rough Riders wear their white helmets so he could make sure he knew who his targets were. Makes sense, right? But, I mean, Darian was with the Riders for a long time. I think 11 years out of a 12-year career, something like that. We were together a long time. And, by the way, we sat across the aisle from each other on the plane every road trip. And spent a lot of time together away from the stadium, too. He did not like some of his coaches. I won't say too many. I've told some of the stories here, but he didn't really like George Cortez. This is kind of funny, and I feel like I can tell it now. Our offensive coordinator, I can tell it because they've made up, and they're great friends now. But all year long, just think about this. And I don't think people go back and think about stuff like this. Darian Durant, Hall of Fame quarterback, 2-time Grey Cup winner. Once as a backup, should have had more as a starter. But he was a tank on his feet. I'm talking Canadian Football League guy out of North Carolina. George Cortez, our offensive coordinator, who won 5 Grey Cups with Calgary, and knows what he's doing, was trying to make Darian a pocket passer all year long, and he was driving Darian crazy. Literally, there was a rope tied to him in the center, or a shot collar. He didn't want him outside the tackles. It was driving Darian crazy. And, of course, George is also a close friend of mine, so he's telling me, I'm setting it up. I'm setting it up. Not every game's the same. George is a genius, man. He's an artist when it comes to play calling in pro football. But Darian didn't like it. And if you remember, fans were like, run, run, run. Come on, Darian, run. He's like, don't you think I want to? Remember, he snapped on that fan on Twitter, which he ended up being fined for. And then, of course, in the playoffs, what happened in the Western semifinal? Oh, only Darian rushing for 97 yards against the BC Lions and a big victory in the semifinal. So back to Sirianni versus Jalen Hurts not getting along. How big of a deal is it if they don't? Because have we all got along with all of our bosses, all of our coworkers? It's exactly the same, It's exactly the same. It's your workplace. You don't all have to get along, but you do need to work together to win. Did you know that story about Darian and George Cortez? And do you see the relation to that of the Sirianni Hurts story? Yeah.
Yeah, but clearly George had a game plan and, as you say, setting it up. And you don't often see the master plan in full focus until you kind of get to the end, right? And you see what Darian did in that playoff game. We all remember that. That's one of the legendary moments in Rider history. So I do see that. And you need to do the job, and you need to work together and put personal things aside for the greater good. But I would like it if your two most important pieces, your head coach and your starting quarterback, liked each other and were on the same page. That would be ideal. Not everybody has to get along, but I would like your MVP quarterback and your coach, who are your leaders of your team, ideally they would get along.
Well, let's also put it this way. Today's player versus the last generation's player. That's the other thing. This is the one thing the coaches tell me. The players need to be happy in order to perform at an adequate level. They need to be listened to, and they need to have everything explained to them. Coach, why are we doing this? Because I told you. That's not good enough. Specifically, why are we doing this? And if you can't adjust as a coach, you're not going to last that long. Right? I mean, Paul Maurice, been coaching a long time here. He obviously figured it out. You know, that's another thing how the players have changed, and I wonder how much the fans know.
No, that's right. And I immediately was almost going to contradict myself or argue against myself and say, well, I don't think Tom Brady and Bill Belichick necessarily got along. But in documentaries I've watched and content, and I've consumed a lot of stuff on Tom Brady, I think him and Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, were like this. And I think Bill O'Brien was there and other coordinators. I think Tom had great relationships there. And that was really important. You know, didn't necessarily need to be close with Bill and going over for family dinners, but I think he was on the phone, you know, multiple times a day with his offensive coordinator, and that goes a long way to having some success, no doubt.
Where I think it changed, and by the way, I put Tom Brady in my generation. What is he, 46 now? I'm 51. Yep. He just happens to look 26. I can't remember if it's what I watched in a documentary or with the people that I hang out with down here, but somewhere along the line, somebody said that Belichick's thing was yelling at Tom Brady, just like he would yell at the 7th-round pick rookie safety, and that worked for years because it's like everybody gets treated the same. But after they started to win a certain amount of Super Bowls, Tom's starting to marry supermodels and mature. He's like, you can stop yelling at me. I'm tired of being yelled at. And Belichick just kept yelling at him. And that's where things really started to go. I can't remember who, like, where we had the Stanley Cup party last night is the same restaurant. Do you remember when I got invited to supper with the Eagles coaches a year or two ago? Do you remember that? That's the same restaurant. And I didn't go then. And I'm kicking myself now. Sirianni and his staff were there. So, but what's different here, I was going through a lot of stuff the past few years. Here that I'm back now, I've jumped in with both feet for the first time, and it's been amazing. Watch what's coming next. All right, Moose, you enjoy your day. Have a great call. I guess I'll be talking to you tomorrow before your big game Friday night. Enjoy the game tonight.
You bet. Well, thank you. We'll talk to you then.
Taylor Shire, legendary broadcaster, now writer, joins us next. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio. As always, streaming on YouTube Live and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained, aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name's Logan Stanko.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
We're brought to you in part by EMJ Marketing. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing Speakers Bureau. Check us out at emjmarketing.com if you would like one of our talented roster to come speak at your event. It includes myself, yours truly, Darren Moose Dupont, but also Jim Barker, Stu Grimson. It's a very long list. Check them all out at emjmarketing.com. Please bring in Taylor Shire now. We're going to get a CFL update from him, maybe, well, I know a hockey update. But hey, Taylor, on the NFL kickoff day, here's one question I don't believe I've ever asked you. Who's your NFL team? You got to have one.
You know what, Rod? I cheer for my fantasy football team. I've never really been inclined to cheer for any team. I went to a Minnesota Vikings game when I was a kid. I like to watch whatever matchup it's on. I actually don't have a team, so I'll usually flip through channels on Sunday and pick the best matchup.
Okay, that's fine. There's no wrong answer to this, but just a bit of a surprising answer. I'll be honest with you. Maybe you don't have time. You're busy covering the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the Canadian Football League for the Leader Post. Give me the Rider update this week as they look to snap a 6-game winless slide in the Banjo Bowl.
Yeah, that's a short week for them. The Riders did practice lightly on Tuesday, and they're back at a close practice today. And of course, there's some changes coming to the offensive line. Peter Goddard, center, was also injured in the Labor Day game, so Logan Ferland is going to make his second career start at center. Nick Jones is going to come back, and then Noah Zer, Langenburg, Saskatchewan's finest, is going to make his first career start on the other side at guard. So lots of changes to the offensive line. It doesn't look like Dante Myers available this week, so another been lost on the injuries. You know, they're going to have to keep rolling with it and try to get out. Are being covered for. How do you stop the losses from piling up week after week after week? It's been, I guess there's a tie in there, but it's been 6 in a row without a victory. They haven't won since July 19th. So it's kind of feeling like it's the same sort of routine of a few in guys, next man up, try to get out of it.
Yo, producer Clark, is that Taylor that's choppy, or is it me getting his to me? It's on Taylor? Okay. Okay. While we do that, we're going to get it sorted out. Clark said guess is maybe he's got to turn off his Wi-Fi or something like that and just go off data. But I'll launch into, well, before I get into the sports update, 902-518-33, the number for text messages. The next segment, by the way, will be viewer takeover in overtime. Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in, and he says, "Good day, Rod. Another great show. Just wondering, did George Cortez go to Darian Durant and take off the shackles during that West semifinal, or did Darian just say, screw this, I'm doing what I have to do?" It was all part of the plan. George called that. So there's your hyper-focused Saskatchewan question. But he asked, and I started the story. It was all part of it. Stop. Oh, my God. You guys, I'm not going to allow you to upset me. Pierre Ducarme with your comment. Glenn in Medicine writes in, he says, "I just watched an 8-minute recap of Saskatchewan BC's 2013 West semifinal at Taylor Field. Darian Durant putting the team on his back. Rod Black with the play-by-play. A great November in Rough Riders history." See, that's what they're doing there. Okay, so let's bring in Taylor. So again, with all these changes on the offensive line, it doesn't take Einstein to realize this is not ideal to have all these changes going into week 14. What is the mood around the team, Taylor? A team that started 4-0 and now in a lot of trouble heading down the home stretch.
And honestly, we ask that question every week, how's the mood? And they keep saying they're not pointing fingers. They're just getting back to work, putting their head down and getting back to work. There's still belief in the locker room. And that is the crazy part. Despite not winning in 6 games, they're still in contention. Nobody else in the West Division has really taken over this thing. I mean, BC's obviously playing, looking like they're trending upwards. Winnipeg is as well. Edmonton is as well. So if the Riders don't figure it out in the next few weeks, they're going to be behind right now. But that's sort of the belief right now, is that they're not behind. They're still in contention to finish. They could finish atop the West realistically if they start figuring this out. If they don't, they could be out of the playoffs, in no time.
Question: could you pinpoint where things have gone wrong for this team?
You know what? No, I can't. But when you look at each game, you can. It's just honestly a few plays here and there each game is costing them. And you're not going to win every game, and you're not going to go through every game. And then some of the ones where they won, maybe they, if it goes the other way, they lose. But this team is better than last year's team that was winless in their last 7, even the year before winless in their last 7. So this 6-game skid is surprising to me because they have been there. I mean, if Mario Alford doesn't fumble that ball, so it's that one play, and it would have been a totally different game, right? Even the Rouge that they gave up on the kickoff, right? If that isn't conceded, the game probably goes to overtime. And there's just little plays here and there. It's not like they're, the season went totally downhill. Trevor Harris got hurt, and the season did not go downhill. I think that speaks a lot about this team when Shea Pedersen came in. So I can't pinpoint what went wrong 6 games ago, but you can look at each game and figure out why they lost by just looking at a play or two.
I got a lot of Habs fan friends, and I would count you as one of those. I was with one last night at a Stanley Cup party here in Fort Lauderdale. Cole Caulfield in the news this week, switching his jersey number to 13 to honor Johnny Gaudreau. That is the biggest story in hockey over the past week, the tragedy there. But I've got the Habs picked. I think I had them last in the Atlantic Division. Am I way off mark with that or not?
I think they'll surprise a few. I wouldn't be putting them in the top 3, but I think they're going to be better than they were last year. I think Laine obviously helps their offensive production. I think they have some really, really good, strong, young defensemen. They were obviously able to trade some away because they have a surplus of young defensemen. If they can figure out their goaltending situation and get some, that's really the only issue for me right now is do they have a number 1 elite goaltender that's going to grow with them through this young phase that they have through this sort of rebuild. We're into year, I don't know what it is, 3 or 4 now of the rebuild. So I think they're going to be continuing to trend upwards. Whether or not they make the playoffs this year, I wouldn't put money on that, but I think they're going to surprise a few and continue to trend in the right direction with all the young talent that they have.
So obviously, thumbs up on the Line A deal for you. No issues there?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Like I said, they had a surplus of defensemen, so they didn't give up a whole lot to get him. And why not take a chance on him if he can find a home there? I'm not the biggest fan of his, even going back to Winnipeg. I don't think he's really. I don't know what his exact salary is. I don't think he's worth that, but if they can take a chance on him and he can put up 30 goals, then it's going to pay off for them. So we'll see. I'll be rooting for him this year.
Training camp's opening in about a week's time. Taylor, thanks for the update. Enjoy the football, man. As always, appreciate the time.
Anytime. Thanks for the chat.
We're going to get to all of your questions and comments, or at least as many as I can, when we come back in overtime and a sports update as well. We're live at Johnny O's Gymnasium, Florida's largest outdoor training gym on Boca Raton Boulevard. We're on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, live streaming on YouTube, of course, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Where are you from? Oh, sweet. Yeah. Yeah, I'll talk to you. Just 5 minutes left. What's your name? Sam? Pleased to meet you. Hey, welcome back. We're back. Overtime. And here we go. Sam just said hi. Now she's walking away. She's from Toronto. How about that? There's a lot of Canadians down here, especially at Johnny. Yeah, especially at Johnny O's today. It is the RP Show's Overtime segment. Proudly brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Hockey players, are you looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot? Look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary with state-of-the-art shooting lanes and top-notch equipment, which it is, by the way, radar gun, the shooting digital targets, as if you've seen on my social media and theirs. Oh, it's so great. It's the ultimate training destination for players of all ages and skill levels, also just to have a lot of fun. Overtime Hockey Lanes has you covered, 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. Looking forward to the afternoon. I'm going to check out, just so you know, I'm going to check out a spot to maybe do the show here for the winter. I don't plan on being at Johnny O's all winter. We're here because the place that we had planned to do the show from, that plan fell through. For the last few years, I've been doing the show from our home, but we've moved and we can't do the show from our new home here in South Florida. So that's what I'm working on. But this has worked out real good today. A lot of nice people around here. Sports update. The Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Ravens tonight in the opening game of the NFL season. And among the many subplots is whether pop star Taylor Swift will return to Arrowhead Stadium. She began a high-profile romance with Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce nearly a year ago when she attended a game against the Bears there. Tay dropped in on several games the rest of the season and even flew back from Japan to watch the Super Bowl. Maybe that's a big reason why the NFL recorded a record $13.5 billion in revenue. And by the way, I'm not saying that jokingly. There's probably a very good chance of that. Placeline, Gainesville, Florida. No one should be surprised if Florida fires coach Billy Napier during the opening month of the season. There's plenty of recent precedent. 5 coaches were let go in the first 5 weeks of the 2022 college football season. Scott Frost at Nebraska, Herm Edwards at Arizona State, Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech, Paul Chryst at Wisconsin, the former Rough Riders assistant coach, and Carl Durrell at Colorado. There was a common thread. The coaches had reached the point of no return. Boosters threatened to stop contributing financially. Fans vowed to stop showing up. I'm telling you, man, college football has just been a trip. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. You tune in, and now I get it. You watch on Saturday, every game is like a Grey Cup. And dare I say, almost every game is like, because if you lose 2 games, your season's done. It's just different from our friends in the CFL, where you can go right down to we were 3-15 in 1999, and our fortunes went down to the last weekend of the season, whether we were going to get into the playoffs or not. That also is good. It's good, too. It's all good. And that's the thing where I got a little annoyed at this Pierre who wrote in, upset, I guess, about our NFL talk. And I'm beat and over the CFL versus NFL versus. If all you want to talk about is the CFL and that's all you came here for, maybe you're the one with a problem, not us. How about that? Hockey note, fans and Columbus Blue Jackets players gathered for an emotional candlelight vigil outside the team's arena to remember Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew. Thousands in Calgary did the same. The siblings died a week ago today when they were struck by a suspected drunken driver while riding bicycles in their home state in New Jersey. The crowd lit their candles at 7:49 p.m. last night, and for the next 13 minutes and 21 seconds, for Johnny's number 13 jersey and Matthew's number 21, they stood in silence watching a slideshow of photos of the brothers from childhood through their teenage years into college hockey, the pros, and other important life events. It's something that, as I say, needs to be talked about. And some people in this are nowhere near even ready to begin healing yet. Some people are, but it's tough. It's really, really tough. So I read the updates, observe it. I didn't know Johnny, certainly didn't know Matthew, but I understand what they're going through. So that's why we read the news of the Tribune. Sports updates brought to you by Seat Giants. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. We've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check us out at SeatGiant.ca. And also, brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Every Monday is Seniors Day at Landmark Cinemas. Get more of the movies you love every Monday for less. 20% off for show tickets, 20% off at the concession. That's a deal that never gets old. So check your favorite Landmark Cinemas for show times and pricing. You know, I don't know how to put my thoughts into this. You know, if I do find this space, it'll be great to do the show because these gyms have a sensory overload. Loud music, scenes. It's kind of hard to concentrate. So I'll get my thoughts together over the next 24 hours. But if you think that a season in the CFL is 18 games or NFL 17 games, it's just the same thing over and over again, that story I told earlier about George Cortez and Darian Durant is actually the first time where I realized the season is a journey, just like life is. If every day of your life's the same, if every year of your life is the same, that's pretty crappy if you ask me. You should be building up, learning as you go. But I should also not be surprised that some people don't and don't even understand why you should aspire to, you know. So it's been fun. Jim Barker tomorrow. Eddie Steele, right? Mark? Tomorrow should be good. Taylor says, what are your CFL picks? We'll do it tomorrow.
Who has more fun than us?